Hello, everybody. Welcome to our second Workwolf Wednesday webinar. Going to get started in a couple of minutes. Excited to talk to everyone today. So we just have some more folks joining. Today, just as a reminder, we're going to talk about harnessing AI to identify top candidates. So most of you have been users for a while here. So we're going to get into just making sure that we optimize the way that we screen resumes for you. So just quick introduction for anyone that hasn't met me before. My name is Madhav, the VP of Sales here at Workwolf. And we also have on the line Mike. Mike is our head of product. So Mike, why don't we get started? So first thing, Mike, we're just going to talk a little bit about resume screening, what some of the challenges are, as well as we'll go through some of the features as well. So the bulk of the time will be spent in the actual tool itself. For some housekeeping, if you have questions, please feel free to type them in the chat, and Mike will be reviewing them. And then Mike, if you can just interrupt me while, if there's ever a question that comes up, let's feel free to do that. Okay, so diving in again, today what we're going to do is we're going to explore the smart resume screening feature. And what that does is it really helps you just easily identify qualified candidates from a resume perspective. In our previous webinar, what we spoke about was more on the personality assessments and how to set up a benchmark. For this one, we're going to talk specifically around the resume qualifiers. So although we're doing this today, again, if you have questions, feel free to reach out to our team. You can easily reach out and we can book a separate call to talk about it. So let's just get into the challenges that are associated with resume screening. So the first biggest thing with resume screening is just time consumption, right? You think about the traditional way of screening resumes. You take your job description, you post it to the job boards, you have resumes coming in. Now, the biggest thing is it just takes time. It takes time to go through each of those resumes. And even if you do have the time, going through them effectively is a whole separate challenge. So that's one of the biggest things. Like an average time is somewhere around 6 to 8 seconds is what gets spent per resume on a quick glance. So sometimes some of the challenges are, number one, just the time involved with doing it. Also, the increased mental load, right? Of just basically remembering, like, what's the criteria again? What am I necessarily looking for? Whether we like it or not, everybody has an unconscious bias. And you also have this concern about like just missing qualified candidates. Again, like what we always say is like, you know, you create your ad, you put it up to job boards, and now you're getting a lot of candidates coming in. That's a good thing that you're getting the candidates, but now it's like, how do I effectively go through each one of those to identify who the best fits are? Mike, before I move on to the actual feature, anything that you want to add there?
No, I think you covered it all.
Awesome. So now we'll pull up the feature in a second. And Mike, why don't you just bring that up now? And we're going to spend the bulk of our time actually looking at what the feature is. So we'll do this using a real life example. So as Mike's pulling up the smart resume screening tool, think of this as hiring a full-time resume reviewer who follows your exact instructions. So we're going to go through the key components of it, which are basically the input fields and the weighting options, as well as a fit score calculation, and then going through the results dashboard as well. So let's just look at the tool now itself, Mike. If you can click on, well, let's look at the job description first, the job details. So as you can see here, like this is a role that Workwolf, it's an internal role that we're looking for. It's a customer success role that we're always looking for good people. So you could see this gets crafted, whether you do it on your own or you are using the AI tool. So this is what would then get connected to the different job boards. So now, if we look at the number of candidates coming in, we can see here in our review section that there's, you know, it's an evergreen posting. That's why the number is so high, but, you know, over 450 candidates. The benefit of Workwolf here is that we don't need to go manually through all 457. It's clearly identifying for us which ones are the best potential fits. So maybe we start at like 80% or above, only the people in the green. So the way that we identify who those individuals are, like how does somebody become a 90% fit, Today, we'll focus on the resume screening. So now what Mike's going to do is we're going to open up the resume screening tool. And if you click on edit, as a starting point, what would happen is the smart resume screening tool will pull out some recommendations for you on things that you can click on. That will be like some criteria for you. So those are some suggested ones that it's pulled from the job description. And again, keep in mind, like it's not using like a keyword search, like that's old school. It's actually using a large language AI model where you can use some natural language or things that you're looking for. So if you look at the things that for this specific role, this is what I was looking for. So 2 years of experience, English communication, experience in tech or a SaaS space. And then you have some other things that like ability to build rapport on the phone and virtual meetings. So this is something that, wouldn't necessarily be something that word for word somebody would write on their resume, but it's something that I need to evaluate when I'm looking at resumes and I want to shortlist. I want to see some evidence of this. We're also looking for Canadian and US experience. We're also looking for experience with client-facing roles. And then you see, this is something that I think is exciting. That's really been a game changer. You can add things like this where, like, for example, for me, if you're looking for someone that has a bit of stability, where you can say, hey, I want someone like not a job hopper, for example. Like I want someone that stays at roles on average 3 years. Again, if this is important to you. And then you can also see adjusting the weighting. Like, do you want to make this a nice to have or is it a must have? And that will adjust the scoring accordingly. Mike, anything that you just want to add there?
Yeah, so yeah, just to kind of build on what Madhav was saying, it's just treat this as like providing instructions on how you would look at a resume. So I think Madhav had the perfect analogy. If you're hiring an intern or you're hiring someone that's dedicated at looking resumes all day, what's the checklist or what's the list of things that you provide them? So like if you were to go over resume and kind of like cross off the list and find a match for you, these are the instructions. Each one of these are a point that you would be looking for. And I guess that's a good transition into kind of this guide of the do's and don'ts, I guess, when entering these criteria. And what you want to be, or what you want to do is be very specific and verifiable. So if it's clear and obvious to you, if you were to look at resume and you were to follow this instruction checklist, you're able to easily cross that off. Like finding someone that is, that has 3 years of experience, you can see, on their resume, they worked at this place for 2 years and you can add it up. That's something that this large language model is able to comprehend and interpret. So if it's clear to you, it'll be clear to them as well. So just try to avoid any kind of subjective or vague terms as well. So, where you basically leave it up to interpretation, where the person's like a team player or is detail oriented. That's hard to find, to determine on paper on a resume. You can maybe pull some things out, but it's not going to be a reliable way, and it's just going to basically be inconsistent across different evaluations, because there might be some language in a resume that does contribute to it, but it might not be picked up. So just try to avoid just kind of being more vague and subjective. Specifying skills and proficiencies, this is quite easy, and this is actually the same as you would with like keyword search, but yeah, I think you can kind of build on top of it, like being fluent in a certain language or having knowledge in specific technologies. It's able to also expand that out. So if you were to say proficient in Excel, it would kind of interpret like Google Sheets or something, a tool similar, as being proficient in it, because it's just because it shares that similarity. So that's kind of the advantage compared to keyword search, because if you type in Excel, it will just look for Excel. In addition, looking at like accomplishments as well. So you can say, I think Matt have already kind of touched on this example, but building on experience in certain categories or in certain industries, maybe US or Canadian companies, like as long as you're being, again, very descriptive, very clear on what you want, it's going to be able to consistently pull that out.
And I think I
Matt.
also just wanted to, I was also going to add, like, sometimes some of the challenges that we see sometimes is, like, if we put too many personality items in the resume screening, like, keep in mind that you've also got this, like, if someone's looking for, sometimes we see like compound, right, where somebody could say, looking for organized, efficient, and very driven, right? So those are things that you could write in resume screening. It's not going to give you the most reliable input from a resume. That's something that you would say more for the personality portion, right? For like your benchmarking, which we covered last time. But these are the things, like, whether you're looking for licensing, whether you're looking for experiences, all those sorts of things that we talked about are pretty effective here. Geography works well. What also I wanted to mention, and we're going to go into the scoring in a second, is just keep in mind, if you make this criteria once, and then you get all your results and you open up some candidates and you realize that, this wasn't actually what I was looking for, I actually meant something different, you can always go back and edit it and change what your inputs were, and it would readjust your existing candidate pool without compromising anything, right? So I think that's important to note as well.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, I think, Matt, you touched on the last part. It's just like combining multiple criteria into one. It's always better to separate them out, just to make it very clear, because it, like, something like this has sales experience and customer service skills. It's always best to separate them out so that you can have clear supporting facts for one or the other, because maybe they have sales experience but not customer service skills, and for you to be able to differentiate that, or for AI to differentiate that, it's just a lot easier and more clear for them. Yeah. Anything else here, Madhav? Like,
I think we're good there with clarifying. Let's get into just adjusting the weight, and then we can go into some examples, and then we'll get into the questions. So here, what you can see, you see like how there's 95s, etc. What you can do now is edit the weight. So what we mean by that is, in this specific scoring section, this is a customer service role. So the way that we've created it at Workwolf is we're putting a 70% focus on the personality and 30% on the resume. That's entirely in your control. For certain roles, you may say it's heavier weighted towards the resume. So maybe it's 70% resume, and you can adjust that scoring by just dragging that over, or you can make it 100% resume. Like, let's say, for example, if you're like, you only want to focus on qualifications, like experience, licensing, all the things that we talked about. So purely weighting would go to the resume itself. And now I just, Mike, why don't we just click on the Solana's profile, because it's one of our own hires. So just like, we'll go through this and we'll go through some of the questions. So here we can see that Solana's a 95% fit, over 95 for the resume. To summarize it, if you look at the prompts in the bold text, we can see these are the prompts that we were looking for, right? So let's look at the example, that one there, minimum 2 years of B2B customer success, right? And in the lighter shade below, it's giving us the supporting information. So not only is there a check mark, but it's also giving us a supporting insight. Or for the English skills, it's saying, yes, Solana has proficient, flawless English skills, and here's why. Here's some supporting information. I think that the ones that are pretty exciting, Mike, if you look lower there, the ones for stays at roles on average for 3 years, right? That's something that someone's not going to write on their resume, right? But the tool is actually finding and saying, yeah, Solana shows stability. There's held a position for nearly a year, then worked at PwC from 2022 to 2024. So that's why there's all these check marks and ranking Solana very high for resume screening. And so in theory, I don't even actually need to look at the resume, right? I could if I want to, like, it's on the candidate's profile. If you scroll down, you'll see it, but you don't need to. You can take a next step because it's already been qualified. And then the last piece is on this side is, like, you can actually make this tool smarter by giving it a thumbs up or a thumbs down in terms of the information being accurate or not. Mike, anything you want to add there?
Nope, no, that's you covered everything. I was just taking a look at the chat. Sorry, I've been sharing my screen, so I haven't been seeing it. But Natalie asked if the system is available in French. So the platform itself is not available in French; it's only in English. The some parts of the platform where you support multiple languages, like the psychometric assessment, which is not the topic of today, but the where the benchmarking and the psychometric assessment is, that's available in French, English, and Spanish. What is interesting also is because it's a large language model, is able to interpret multiple languages. So if we don't natively support French, but if this resume was in French, it will be able to translate and interpret it as if it was French, and would basically evaluate as if it was it will evaluate as if it was English. So it'll pull out the key details, supporting facts within a resume. So even though everything else is in English, if we were to feed it a French resume, it will still be able to work.
I just want to answer a couple of questions. So Brian, everybody was sent the invite, but just so that you know, we'll share the recording afterwards as well. And then just Denise has just asked, a candidate shared a post from LinkedIn. Is there a way to locate their posts on LinkedIn, Indeed? Like, can they easily identify their specific posts? Mike, is that possible?
No, yeah, there isn't a way to. There's no job link, I guess, associated to the pipeline. But if you search your company, it should be attached to whatever company that you posted it for. So on LinkedIn, Indeed, ZipRecruiter, that's how you would find your post.
And LinkedIn's easier. LinkedIn, just go to your company page, and it'll be should be linked right there. So, okay, so I just wanted to cover like a couple more things like for this. If there's any other questions, please feel free to keep typing them. I think that a few of the things that have worked really well that people have typed in on the do side is, like Mike said, things that are specific and measurable. Like, for example, writing down like the 3 years of customer service experience, those are great. Location, we've noticed that that's working very well. Like, we've also been able to type in things like, if you say located within 15 miles of Chicago, you can also say, lives in Chicago or can reasonably commute there, right? Those are other things that we've noticed that have been working strongly as well. We've also seen like when it comes to experience, I've noticed that being specific is important. Where, for example, we've had a few customers would write insurance experience, and it would give them a check mark to say, yeah, this person has insurance experience. But then we look at the resume, it would say, well, it's with a bank. Whereas what the client was looking for was maybe with a private provider or more like commercial type of insurance. So you can always go back and make those type of adjustments, which I just think is important to mention.
I think one more thing that we should cover, Madhav, is, I guess we weren't really planning on talking about that as you were speaking. I just thought we should go over when to use screener questions and when to use the smart resume screening, because this comes up from time to time, of this question of like when we use traditional screener questions. And the main difference between the two is that screener questions go out during and are filled out during application. So when a candidate is applying for the job, they upload their resume and they will see these screener questions and they have to answer it in order to apply. So it's what's been used traditionally. And if you have questions that you want to ask that might not appear on a resume, this is the time to do it. You'll get some responses and you'll be able to filter for those. But I think this is when we start to, like, we can start eliminating questions like how many years of experience do you have, because that should be reflected on the resume. And it's just basically one extra question that you can remove from here. And you can just stick to questions that something like, are you able to work in Canada? Are you, do you have a work permit or something like that? That's something that might not come across on a resume, but you need to ask that because it's something that it will qualify them for a job or not. So we can stick to those type of questions, even like this one, even though we have it in our smart resume screening, it might not always come across in the resume. So it's always good to kind of ask those questions out of the way. And I don't think, yeah, sorry. Anyway, that's kind of what I would say. Matt, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I think the only other thing I'd add to that is like the other use case that we've seen for screener questions, there's two of them. One of them is a lot of our customers use them for short answer questions. if there's certain roles that you're looking to fill, like they're technical, maybe project manager, finance, like whatever type of roles they are, and you just want to hear directly from the candidate, you have an opportunity to do that. So that's one place where screener questions are used. And the other thing that a lot of people don't know, Mike, if you just, I just want to show how to use it as a filtering tool. I'm really glad that you brought this up, is that you can actually, like other like job boards have screener questions as well. But the difference is a lot of times you have to click on each candidate to see how they've answered. In this scenario, what Mike is showing is you can just use it as filtering, where you can say, just only show me the candidates that have answered positively. So if I apply that, all of a sudden, you know, my list gets even more curated, while also applying the resume screening, right? So all of a sudden 450 became 340, which is good. The other thing is too, Mike, and actually I wasn't know about this feature myself, is from a filtering tool perspective as well. You can also do it by the resume screening, right? So that's another thing which is nice too.
Yeah, so you can do it by percentage of the resume match, but then also resume screening for each one of those criteria. It's listed out here. So what we just saw as your list here when you set them up, for each of these, you can further filter. So you go in here and I want to see people with 2 years experience, or at least have a check mark in that area. We can use that as a filter.
If there's any other questions, just please feel free to keep typing them in the chat. Just as we're going through this reminder, if anybody needs any additional help, you can reach out to us through the chat bot in the platform, or just reach out to support@workwolf.com as well. Any other features, Mike, from the resume screening that you think is worth going through? Did you want to go through like just how the scoring works?
Yeah, we can definitely touch on that. So Madhav mentioned, actually it's probably better if we just go to the criteria. So it's quite basic. It's just spread out across all the different criteria that you set. Like Madhav mentioned, must-haves, or I guess more important criteria, when you mark them as must-haves, they just get weighted more significantly. So if someone were to not have 2 years of experience, that would mean more to the score and impact the score more than if they didn't have flawless English communication skills. If everything was left as nice to have, it's just basically spread across evenly. So if they had maybe, 4 out of 5, that's just 80%. So it's nothing too complex around there, but it's just a way for you to kind of have more control over what's important and what's not.
And Mike, like I know we touched on this a little bit before, but I just want to make sure we cover it again. This is not the same as keyword search.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. So is it like do you want to just explain like what type of tech it is
Yeah.
that
Yeah, so we have proprietary prompt engine, essentially, that it feeds all of these criteria into a prompt that, the large language model is able to take the resume, for the text, that's everything that's in there, and use this as a checklist. So it's like that analogy that we use is essentially what's happening in the back end is like you're giving instructions to somebody to take a look at this resume and go across every single one of these criteria to see if it's a match or not. And if it is a match, then provide what areas in the resume where supports that match. So that's essentially, in essence, like what it's doing, and it's running that for every single candidate that goes through the platform. So as you make changes as well, if like what Madhav was saying, is that this is not set in stone. So all 457 candidates here that's been evaluated with these criteria, if you were to make a change, it basically just triggers a reevaluation again, looks at all the resumes with the new criteria, and will provide you a new score. So this is something that you can constantly change over time as you're refining and tweaking what the best criteria you're looking for, and it won't affect the candidate at all. It would just change their score and update their score based on that. But their resume is in there, so that won't ever change. So you can play around as much as you want and make changes based on changing hiring needs or anything like that.
And like for this session, we're going to focus purely on the resume screening. So, but just as a preview for what you can also do, and I know some users are already doing this. are things like automated actions, where you could also, like if you've identified like a 95% fit or somebody that's over 75% fit, you can also automate a message to those candidates if you wanted to do that. Right. So something that you can maybe Mike just let's quickly just touch on that. We don't need to go into detail to stay focused on this topic, but it is something that is there.
Yeah, and I guess a good segue. This might be a future topic for our next webinar. Is building out automations. So we make the suggestion that once you have this all set up and you refined it, and you should only focus on those that are good match, like anyone in the green, or maybe even anyone that's 90% or above. So there's 4 out of the 457 here. Is you can start building automations based on this. So any action that you would take on a pipeline, you can tell our system to do. So in automations, I can create a new one. This is just kind of a preview of what we can touch on. But let's say if a candidate is within awaiting review and they have an overall fit score of greater than 75%, then I want to move them into reviewed, or you can build on top of it. Like I want to send them a message from myself, and I can just say, hey, I notice you're a great fit. It seems like you're a great fit based on your resume and your Pathfinder score. We'd love to get in touch. Click this link to book an interview or something like that. Any action that you can perform on the platform, you're able to automate. And then you can even have the ability to set like timers. So either to have it trigger immediately and take action immediately, or you can kind of create a delay just in case, and you have controls to like cancel any pending actions and stuff like that.
So I think Denise just asked, how do you get to this screen? So what you're going to do is just click into a pipeline. So once they're into the pipeline, just click on the automations tab where Mike is just hovering over, and that's where you can set them up and just create new.
Yeah.
So to wrap up the smart resume screening, I think the most important thing, again, like if you need help or if you want us to look into the way that you've set it up and just want a second set of eyes on it, you can always reach out to our team where we can help you to make sure it's coordinated and set up the best that it could be. And also the most important, just use it. It's a tool it's there to help you. It's there to help easily identify who the top candidates are. So the biggest suggestion is to implement it when you're creating your pipeline. Mike, Stephanie just asked if we can send an attachment.
Unfortunately, no, not right now. You aren't able to add attachments to the automated messaging. I can make a note to add that as feedback. Thanks, Stephanie.
I think we are good. Are there if there's any other questions, we'll hang out for a second, but thank you everybody for joining the session today. We're going to continue this Workwolf Wednesdays. The first Wednesday of every month will be this session. They are recorded. You'll be able to access them. If you have suggestions or if you have additional questions, we're always there to help you as well. Mike, anything else?
No, I think we covered it all.
Can you go over checklist? What checklist, Denise?
I think this feature here.
Oh, the checklist feature. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. We can quickly touch on it, I guess, as we have some extra time. This is just built as a way for you to make sure that you're checking off your recruitment process. So you can create new checklists or use an existing one. I guess we have a kind of like an example here, but if you can create whatever it is, and this is attached to every single candidate just to make sure that you're following your own processes. And that's just to keep track. So you can create a checklist name, add sections, before interview, after an interview, or pre-screening, whatever it is. And every single candidate will have, if you attach one, it will appear here, like 0 out of 5 items checked off. And you
Mike, we're not seeing your screen.
Oh, sorry. I forgot I stopped sharing. Sorry, Denise. So yeah, the checklist tab here is just for you to keep track of your recruitment process. Like I was mentioning, we have a demo here or example here, someone's workflow before an interview, after an interview, just these three items or 3 tasks. And when you go into each candidate, you'll see that checklist on here beside the comments section. And it's just something that for you to keep track of. Like, let's say for Selena, we hired her and she went through the entire flow. Just another way for you to keep track of your process if you have multiple hiring managers, where you're at what stage, just providing you some more tools to collaborate and just kind of manage your keep track of candidates.
Okay, everyone, thank you so much for joining us. We hope you really use the Smart Resume Screening tool. Any questions, like I said, feel free to reach out. We can always have a separate call too. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Take care. Bye.